there's any questions you have, Brian's going to be here with the city to answer any questions you have. But if you've got any questions for Robert, any comments you want to make about the city itself, the city services, we would love to hear from you. If not, no big deal. We just want to say hi to everybody, okay?
I can't stick around for the entire meeting. I just wanted to introduce myself. If you have any questions with regards to public safety, well, Brian is is my supervisor that's in charge of public safety that oversees, what is it, sheriff's, parking control, animal control, and emergency operations. And yeah, I oversee that and public works, engineering, admin. I can't remember what else, but if you have any questions with regards to your streets, resurfacing of your streets, really anything in the city aside from planning issues, be more than glad to hear from you. You can talk to Brian, and Brian will give you my contact information, and we can take it from there. I know that this is a neighborhood watch, but I know there's a lot of questions out there about when is my street going to get resurfaced, what's going on with my sidewalks, am I getting sidewalks? I have lifts at my sidewalks, and that all falls in my bailiwick. So if while you're eating, you want to take a minute or two to ask me any questions with regards to public works, I'd be more than glad to answer it. And if not, please give Brian your information. I'll be more than glad to give you a call during the week. And with that, of course, we will be.
We have a traffic calming master plan that was adopted and identified focus areas. If it's in that area that identifies it, then obviously a funding issue that we're going to have in the program to have those mistakes made. If it's not identified in that plan, there's a process that you can petition the city, and it would have to be in a neighborhood consensus to move forward and get that installed and added to the list. I don't have that right on hand with me, but we can take a look at it and see if it's on there.
Yeah. Anything else, folks? Yes, sir.
A box of rocks to your office.
On
our
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got that box of rocks. Thank you.
He said he was a kid.
Right.
He said
Because
Right. Those are the rocks that came up from the asphalt.
yes. And the cops were already there putting packages. He ran out of all that.
Well, we're taking care of it by Tuesday next week. We're actually going to cut out where the gate should be done, and we'll take care of that area there.
The problem that I see there, okay, when are you going to resurface that?
Actually, I'll make just a quick thing about the resurfacing of your streets. The city just finished a comprehensive plan of looking at all of our streets in the city, which is about 27 miles worth of street, and did a physical inventory of every street in the city, and then graded those streets from 1 to 100. Our average for all the streets came back preliminarily as a 67, which is higher than San Gabriel, higher than Arcadia, higher than anything. But that doesn't really matter if you're the ones that are running over the potholes. So in the next month, maybe month and a half, we're going to put out a report that'll let you know, based on the report that came back, when it is that you're going to get your street either resurfaced, that means we're going to cut, we'll take 2, 3, 4 inches down and put on a new blacktop and restripe, whether you're going to get a slurry seal, which is a fancy word for we're going to paint your street black, and put new striping down. And when that's going to happen within the next 4 years. And you're going to have an opportunity, once that report comes out and once we send everything out to everyone, you're going to have an opportunity to come back and say, look, short little bald guy, you're wrong. I need it this year, not 2 years from now. So that'll go out to all residents here within the next, I'd say within the next 60 to 75 days.
I understand that for 25 years or better, you put slurry and more than and that slurry lasts for about maybe a year and a half.
If that.
Yeah, I'm really exaggerating that. When is the county going to come in
The county,
For your request, the county to do that.
the county's not gonna do it anymore. There was an old way that Temple City used to do things. I've been here for 2 years. The way Temple City used to do things is not the way we're doing things now. And by that I mean, we're not gonna have the county do the resurfacing of streets. Nothing against county workers, but what I can get the city, what I can bid out to a private contractor to do on 2 streets, I can probably get about 14 to 16 streets done, right? Not that the county charges a lot, hint, hint, but they kind of do, right? So we're gonna, slurry only works if you do it on a yearly basis after you get a brand new street done. If you do it 4, 6, 8 years down the road, slurry doesn't do anything except paint your street. So we're gonna go on a 4-year cycle. On that, at the very outset, we're gonna take the streets that are below a 40 and we're gonna give you a new street. After that, we're gonna keep it at a 60 or a 70 and everybody's gonna have a great, it's gonna look great. Yes, sir?
I live on Olive Street where they're doing a major water.
Right.
patching,
Yes, sir.
And they're doing a pretty good job of patching up the mess they made.
You think so?
Well, it's smooth.
Yeah.
You drive over now and it's not bad.
Right.
But what can happen is, you know, over several year or two,
It's gonna settle.
rain and everything. Are you guys gonna do a reassessment again?
Yes.
Maybe-
One thing that we didn't have in the past is we couldn't hold utilities accountable for settling in asphalt. So the utilities would come up, they would dig up a brand new street or a street like Olive that is actually pretty good if I remember the report well.
It used to be.
Yeah, it used to be. It's not as bad, right? It's not as bad. And then they would just leave, and 2 years later, that thing would settle to about 2 inches, 3 inches maybe. So now we're trying to enact an ordinance without the utilities suing the city, in which whenever they dig up a street, they're held liable for 10 years? 5 years. Regardless of any of that, Olive is one of the streets that is slated for a new street.
Okay, so another question regarding.
Yeah, sure.
I heard that there was a potential bike lane going to be going along with one of the streets was chosen as a potential.
Is Olive on BTA? Olive is on BTA, yes.
So is it going to happen for sure?
Yes.
Okay, now, that makes another question. It's not a very wide street to begin with.
Right.
What's that going to do for the bicycles and parking now? I mean, it's hardly safe enough now
Right.
with cars parked on both sides. Now you have a bike lane in there.
Right.
Bike lane's going to be towards the center more of the lane? Or are you going to put a bike lane towards the curb like an Amani alley?
I don't know right up, the
It's being
report on that
engineered.
bike lane, the report on the bike lane is only about 80 or 90 pages long, and I
How
haven't
many?
read it yet. It's, the report on the bike
80 or
on that,
90
yeah,
pages
yeah,
long?
it's a pretty big report, because there was a lot of analysis that went into it. I'm sure it's not gonna be under 11 and a half, because under 11 and a half
Well,
feet, you start clipping
All
ears.
of is projected to become what they call a bike boulevard. And so there's additional traffic calming improvements to slow down traffic a lot more. It may be what they call traffic circles or bulb outs or different stuff, narrowing effects to slow down that traffic so the bicyclists have a safer path and travel on that. But everything in the bike plan, most of it is just ideas and putting things out. For it to actually come into place, it has to be designed and engineered, and we're in the stages of awarding a contract for that coming up in next Tuesday for a portion of the grant that we have for the bicycle lane. So there's streets Golden West, Temple City Boulevard, some of the, I can't remember off the top of my head what other streets have streets identified to be engineered for the bike lane. So
So will that eliminate parking in front of your own house?
it may eliminate some, it just all depends on what class of bike lane they have. It's a class 2 or class 3.
How do we find that information out?
You can go to the council meeting on Tuesday. There'll be some of that there.
Tuesday?
And then if you go on the city's website, the bicycle master plan is online, so you can read up on that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, one last question, one last question.
Arden is a hunting road.
Yeah. All streets in the city belong to the city.
I live in the corner of Louisa at Arden. Drive the train. Starting at 6:30. The road is full bore. And 9 times out of 10, my curb is quivering when people go past my house.
The deflection, yeah.
What I want to get the city to do is to paint either a white or a yellow line
Raj, before the end of the meeting, can you take his name and number down? I'll give him a call.
I got his information already.
Do you really?
I know, Brian.
Do you really? I do too. My condolences.
Okay, folks, listen, I'm sorry, but Robert's got to go.
If anybody has any questions for me at all, please give your
His
contact.
name is easy to remember.
Huh?
His name is easy for you to remember.
What's that?
His name.
Just say Robert. Good name.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, no.
I was out on our street and I came home in the morning, by the afternoon, and had an accident.
Oh, well, wow, that's nice. I don't. Usually I'm the most hated man. Thank you, everyone. If you have any more questions, please hand them over to Brian. I'll be more than talk to you and give you a call back personally. Have a good, enjoy the job there. Take care. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Robert.
Okay, we're just kind of rushing things along because we're actually talking about city issues, and we're going to address many of those city issues in the middle of the program. So Robert needed to get going. We don't want to lose our opportunity to give you the information we want to share with you as well. So before we get started, is somebody missing a phone, a cell phone? Because it was left on the table over here, so. No? Cool, I've got a new phone, thank you. That's awesome. It'll be right up here, so if anyone's asking for it. Oh, you didn't want to admit it, did you? I'm not saying a word, so.
He won't point you out.
It looks like, it looks like you don't have any kids, young kids in here, so I can be a little freer with my my presentation. I'm not as restricted. My captain's not here yet. And I've got Jerry over here videotaping, so whatever I say that probably isn't very professional, he's just going to edit it all out before he puts it on YouTube. So we're in good shape.
That's it.
Okay, so let me just introduce myself real quick. I'm Rick Adams. I work out of Temple Sheriff Station. I've been dealing with city issues, quality of life issues, and a number of things that we do on a regular basis for the last 13 years. We'll talk a little bit more about what I do in just a bit and what Kirk does and the rest of our team. Kirk Cardell, my partner, the two of us are going to be with you tonight. We have another partner, Rob Alvarez, and a sergeant, Ron Miranda, and they're actually out taking pictures of a vehicle we think that was involved in a burglary in our city. And we actually have information based on, it was a laptop computer that was taken, and we're able to, when they log on at a home in Temple City, we were able to find out where that home was, and they're out in Baldwin Park, and they're doing some investigation for that. So that's kind of one of the things that we do. We do a number of things. We'll talk about that in a minute. Martin and Lucy, our two main area leaders we have for our program. Basically what they do is they're volunteers. They come out on a regular basis to help us with renovating the program. We'll talk about the program and how it's changed as well in just a little bit. Jerry Jambazian here, he's been with the city for years. Many of you probably know Jerry or have seen him. He's going to be videotaping for us tonight. We have Freddie and Brian from the city. And we might have a council member come in. We might have our captain, Chris Need, come in. He usually shows up. Usually he's here when we get started. He'll say a few words. But if he pops in, I'll ask him if he wants to say hi to you. He may want to stay in the background as well. Yeah, Lucy. All right, good. So yeah, did you tell them anybody needs to train? Okay, perfect. If we see any kids come in, we have a room over here with, they're playing Wally. Wally? Yeah, so that's for the little kids, not the big kids. All right? And then just so you know, restrooms are right back here. The taco guy is going to be here until 7 o'clock, so help yourselves. Get up and move about if you have to. If you have to leave early, that's fine. We want to make sure, though, everybody in the room gets on the sign-up sheet we have in the back of the room. So before you leave tonight, we want your name, address, phone number, and email address. The reason we want that, you don't have to give it to us if you don't want to. It's totally optional. But we want to send you weekly crime blotters about the things that are going on within the city. Okay? And if we don't have your email address, we can't do that. All right? Did I miss any interventions? Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay. Now, some of the duties, some of the things we do, Kirk and I, Rob and Ron, Miranda, basically anything involving the city of Temple City we're involved with. So we do a number of things. Presentations at the schools, neighborhood watch such as this program. We do presentations to school kids. We deal with the council members. We meet with them on a monthly basis. They call us regularly about complaints that residents within the city have. Fernando just called me 2 days ago about a house on Cloverly in the north end of town, where there's some gypsies there living there, and there's constant problems at the house. So we're dealing with that, okay? Quality of life issues. Anything that's a quality of life issue. Maybe, your neighbor's yard doesn't look good. We'll get involved. That may be a city issue, and we're going to talk about that tonight as far as, what are city issues, what are department issues. But we get involved in any quality of life issues. Maybe loud parties going through the street, someone leaving their car parked in front of your house for, days on end when they can actually park in front of their own house. Anything like that we deal with, okay? We do search warrants, we do probation and parole compliance checks, okay? So what those are is, we actually have guys and gals released from county jail and from the state prison system, okay? And when they're released, they're supposed to obey all the laws, right? But most of the time they don't. So we knock on their door, we go in, we detain everybody in the house, make sure it's safe for us to do our search. We'll search that person's bedroom and any other common areas in their home. Okay, we're looking for contraband, weapons, child pornography, drugs. Most of the time it's narcotics. Most of the time it's narcotics, okay? Just so you know. We do investigations. We'll do surveillance work. 2 weeks ago, we had undercover cars. We had a couple black and whites. We had other teams involved with our team from other areas like Rosemead, the city of Rosemead. They've got a special assignment team. They came and helped us out. We were sitting in an undercover car, Rob and I, and we see this gal walking down the street that looks like she doesn't belong. And she's going through the trash. Now, I know that stealing the recyclables is a big problem we have in the city. I know that, okay? But this lady was just kind of going through looking for goodies, all right? So I got a hold of Ron, who was in a black and white, and we followed her for quite some time because all our other deputies that were out there in marked black and white units that were our takedown vehicles, which means they're going to stop those people, find out what they're up to for us. They were all busy. Finally get Ron out there, he stops her, talks to her, she's under the influence of methamphetamine, she's got a glass pipe used to ingest narcotics, right? And she's got a nice large bag of meth in her purse. All right, so that's just some of what we do. That's just some of what we do. Detective Bureau gets cases all the time, maybe some workable information, like the one that Ron and Rob are working on tonight. We go out there and we help them as well. The only reason we're not out there helping Ron and Rob is because we had this meeting tonight. So we had to interview you folks. Kirk, what else do you want to add to that, if anything?
Operation-wise, we do burglary saturation. Right now, we do have a lot of things going on with vehicle thefts, residential. So we'll do the same thing as like my partner said. We'll get these undercover vehicles and get some of the black and whites, and we'll tell them, hey, maybe we'll be at Freer in that area driving around. What they'll do is stay a few streets away so that they don't kind of like spook the bad guys. So we do quite a bit of that. We also do due diligence operations, basically individuals who have warrants in the city, anywhere from DUI, petty theft, grand theft, receiving stolen property, under the influence, and all kinds of other drug-related warrants. What we'll do with that is make a list, start it in the morning, we'll do door knocks. Hey, how you doing? Is Johnny home? Yeah, he's right here. Come on out here, Johnny. Johnny gets to go to jail. He's got an active warrant. So those are a couple of the other operations that we do also in the city.
Yeah, we're good. I'm sorry, I was listening.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't know if we wanted to introduce him. Okay, just real quickly, everybody, this is our captain, Chris Nee. He's the captain over here at Temple Station, and I don't know if you need to say anything or
Yeah, you want to say
Hello, good evening, everybody. I just want to say thank you very much for coming. Again, thank the city for putting on such a fine spread of food. But truly, these are opportunities that we get to introduce ourselves to you, let you know that we're here working for you, keep you safe, keep the city safe. And it's truly, what these gentlemen are going to be up here talking about tonight, it's a partnership between the Sheriff's Department and the citizens of Temple City. It's not, we don't want us against you mentality at all. We want you to feel comfortable. You see a sheriff's car driving down the street, there should be a sense of comfort and security, and we can't do this job alone. We're begging you for your help. These gentlemen are full of great ideas and recommendations, and you know, it's incumbent upon all of us. And it takes courage to live in a safe neighborhood. I'm not going to lie. It takes courage to be able to pick up that phone, to have confidence in us, and call us, because we're not going to be in your neighborhood 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I understand that. So it does take courage to stand up to people that want to trample on your rights and on your property. When you come home at night, and a lot of you have lived in your houses a long, long time, that's your castle, as it should be. we need to be able to work together to ensure that you can go anywhere in the city at any time, day or night, and feel comfortable and safe. You know, the city's great. We were rated 41st safest city in the country last year to a real estate organization that rates cities throughout the country as far as when they go into rate houses as far as real estate wise. So we got a tremendous rating here, and got a great deal of attitude and your cooperation with us and us working together. We want to foster that team and that teamwork and that friendship and that that relationship. So, in a big of that, I have to applaud you guys for taking time out of your day, and a lot of you worked today and you came right here. That's huge, and we really appreciate everything that you do. All I ask, and I'll leave you with this, and I'll let you get back to your food, and the gentleman back to what this is. We door knocked and we put out, I don't know how many flyers you guys put out? 800. Look around and see how many people are here. We're happy as heck that you are here. All we ask is next time we do that, bring one more person with you. Now we've dealt with it. So go back to you, neighborhoods, and be ambassadors for us, and tell everything we say tonight, spread the word. We encourage them to come next time, because truly, the more we get together, we do great things together. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate your time.
Okay, so as the captain mentioned, we can't do this without you. We're going to go over the things that we need from you, okay? And it's not hard at all, okay? It's just things that you're going to want to know to protect yourselves, right? And we'll go into that in just a bit. Okay, so everyone's got a packet, right? Everyone's got a packet? We're going to go through this real quick just so you know what's in it, and then we're going to talk about what we're here to talk about. And we hope to be done by 6:40, Kirk and I, and then we're going to give the city an opportunity to come and talk to you as well. Just so you know, usually we have a PA system. I don't need it, but sometimes the other folks do. The speakers aren't here for whatever reason tonight. So if at any point you can't hear, especially in the back, please let us know, and then we'll talk louder for you, okay? All right, so the first page, pretty simple. It's just our contact information. Really what you need to know is my contact information, Rick Adams, my phone number, and my email address. And if there's a city matter, Brian Arizumi, and he's on there below mine. And we'll talk about the city matters and department matters as we go on. If you can't get a hold of me, which rarely ever happens, you can always get a hold of Kirk or Rob as well. That's why their contact information is there. We're all partners. We all help each other out. But this is kind of my baby. All right. The next page, just a piece of paper to write notes on if you want. We've got pens somewhere around here. If you need a pen, raise your hand. I'll get you a pen. Kirk will get you a pen. Everybody okay? The reason I put that on there is you might have notes or things that you might want to jot down, things that we can tell you. Also, you may have a problem with a neighbor, and you may not want everybody in this room, and especially your neighbors here, to know about your issue. So, if that's the case, write down your name and your phone number, email address, or and what the problem is, and then hand it to myself or Kirk before you leave tonight, and then we'll get a hold of you outside the meeting, and we'll discuss your issue and how we can go about resolving it. Make sense? All right, everybody awake? No sleeping after you ate. You can't do that. We fed you, so no sleeping. All right, next page. What we did was we revamped this whole program, and our team in the city, we've done a number of things working with the council members to change the program from the way it used to be. One of those changes is the new neighborhood watch sign. So how many of you have signs on your blocks that say you're part of neighborhood watch? If you know, that's okay if you don't know or you don't have one. So nobody really, right? So we're in the process of, we've come up with the design, and our area leaders who meet once a month, they actually came up with the design. Well, Brian's guy made about 4 different designs. And our area leaders who meet with me once a month came up with the one they liked the most, and this was it, okay? So if you want to be more involved in just going to a meeting once a year or once every 14 months, then get a hold of myself or Lucy or Martin and let them know, and then you'll actually have more of a voice than what you already have. You have a voice, but we leave it to the area leaders to make some of the final decisions, because really it is a partnership. You know, we have to work together, and that's what we're doing tonight. That's why you're all here. All right, so just so you know, that's the sign you're going to be seeing out throughout the city once we actually get them made. The next page is a breakdown of the city, all right? We used to do meetings block by block. Well, times have changed. Some of you, who's been in Temple City more than 25 years? A number of you, okay. It used to be that you knew all your neighbors, right? And you would call them and they'd watch your house for you. They'd come in, take your mail in for you, feed your pets, right? True or not true, haven't things changed a little bit over the years? People are more paranoid, right? And we're going to talk about things tonight that are going to make you maybe a little concerned or a little uneasy. We're not here to scare you, okay? We just want you to be aware of what's going on. And I'll tell you right now, of all the cities that we patrol in our station area at Temple Station, we have Rosemead, South Lamani, DeWarty, Temple City, and all the county areas. Temple City is one of the, if not the safest city. It's the lowest crime rate we have. And I'll tell you, and I've worked this city as a special assignment deputy for 13 years now. I was a patrol deputy for about a year and a half before, and working in the city. And then I had 4 years of patrol before that as well. I'm telling you, I've worked all the different station areas. This city is by far the safest and has the least amount of crime than the other cities we handle. I grew up in Temple City. My grandmother's been in the city for 50 years. My folks are in town. Kurt's got family. Kurt grew up in Temple City. His folks are in town. So we tell you that because we want you to know that what we're telling you, we really believe. Because I'm not gonna BS you. Okay? We tell you what we believe, and if there's something wrong or something we can't fix, we'll tell you exactly that. You know, this is where we're at with it. These are some of the things we tried, you know, and we're at a standstill, which rarely happens. Usually we can remedy the situation some way or other, okay? So I just want you to be aware of that. We do care about the city, and it's a great city to live in. All right, 12 areas. So instead of doing the blocks, because what happened was we have different people moving in, times are changing. It's not as relaxed as it was 30 or 40 years ago, true? All right? Things are crazy. Nobody trusts anybody anymore. It's all about me, okay? True? Yeah. So what we figured is we needed to change the approach because at these block meetings we were having, one, you know, you'd only get 2 or 3 people showing up to some. Some you might get 10 or 12 people, which is great, but it's also very time consuming. All on top of all the things we do, this program's my baby. So we're out there doing operations all the time. We're helping with city events. We're helping other teams. You know, we're out there enforcing laws. We're doing a number of things. So that's why we need your support, and that's why we don't have the time to do one block for 2 or 3 people or even 10 people when we can get a whole huge area and get anywhere from 40 to 80 to 90 people showing up. This is probably the smallest group we've had. Last year when we did your group, 14 months ago, this is probably the smallest group. And we think that part of the reason might be because we don't have a church or a school or a place in your area, in Area 10, that's big enough that we know of to have a meeting like this. If you folks know of someplace in your area, in the boundaries, please let me know or let my partner know, and we'll look at that for next year, okay? But we're glad you're here because we started this program but almost 2 years ago. Martin was in it from day one with me, and we've already got over 900 email contacts. So that's 900 residents in the city that are getting notices weekly about the crimes that are occurring. People that can contact me, usually via email because it's the easiest way for me to get back to them. I can send that email to patrol deputies and tell them, hey, this is what's going on this street. I need you to look at it for me. So not only do you have us dealing with the problem, but you have patrol deputies handling the issue for you as well. Okay? So we changed the program. And Stacy Morgan, my old sergeant, and I, we came up with the city. And actually it was I think it was Robert's, no, actually it was Brian's, who's not here, not Brian Arzumi. Brian's idea, because there was another city doing the same thing, breaking their city down into areas. And the thought was, we're going to do 12 areas, and we'll hit every area once a year, right? Thus the 12 areas. So we started the program thinking, hey, this is great. And what happened was, we realized November and December are the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas time, people are shopping. We're not going to get a great response. So now we're meeting with you, it's once every 14 months. So instead of once a year, it's once every 14 months that you will meet. So 14 months from today, we'll have another meeting in your area. The great thing is most of the problems that we have in your area are the same throughout the city. So if you can't make this meeting, or you know somebody that could make this meeting tonight, they can go to another meeting next month and the month after. Okay? So just so you know. So far, like I said, we're getting anywhere from 60 to 90 people showing up at our meetings. That's huge. How do we do it? We bribed you. Food, right? Childcare. Tonight we've got some $10 gift cards for Carl's Jr. So we're going to hand out evaluations because we want your input. And once we get those, we're going to give you, the guys are going to give you a ticket, and we'll have a raffle. And maybe a few of you will win some food at Carl's Jr. So we're kind of, and that also promotes the businesses within the city. Most of the time they're donating these items. So, all right. And the good thing about the program is it's changing. Every month we're meeting, we're talking about how things are going, what we like, what we don't like. If we don't like something, then we scrap it. But if it's working or we have a new idea, we implement it. So we just want you to know that the program's been huge. It's been a huge help. And it's still going to be changing and evolving every month. Okay? And here's, we have two more people that just walked in that are part of our team. I mentioned Rob over on the left. He's raising his hand, Rob Alvarez, and our Sergeant Ron Miranda. And I already told them guys you're out doing some surveillance work for the burglary investigation, so they know why you're not in uniform. All right? Okay. The next page is your area, Area 10. All right? So I think it's all on the north, but I'm just going off memory. It's not on the page.
Yeah, all of North, Garden, East, Northeast, and South, Baldwin, West.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, so this is what this is look, the main problems we're seeing in our town are residential burglaries and vehicle burglaries. All right? Every once in a while, within the city, we get maybe a robbery. We do have vandalisms that occur sometimes, but the main crimes that we're seeing, and we'll explain why, are the vehicle burglaries and residential burglaries. That's why those are the only two crimes that we put on this map. The others are a lot less significant than these. So in a 6-month period, as you can see, in your Area 10, the little home is broken in half. Those are your residential burglaries. You've got 3, which is not bad. Obviously, we'd rather not have any, but that's not going to happen normally. And we had 2 vehicle burglaries. Not bad at all for a 6-month period. I'll tell you right now, Roseby, well, I shouldn't really say cities, but there is a city that has anywhere from 8 to 10, well, actually I should say even higher, sometimes 10 to 15 residential burglaries a month. Vehicle burglaries. I mean, it's just crazy. We are on the low end, so just know that. All right, the next 2 pages are the first page of the crime blotter that we're going to send you weekly. Brian will be sending it out to you. Ron and I prepare it. We send it out to Brian, and he'll ship it out to you every week. So it kind of tells you some of the crimes that are going on. It doesn't have all the crimes always, but usually the most significant crimes. And then we have it in Mandarin as well. The next page, that's just a piece of paper. It's not really there for you to use so much because you're never going to know all your neighbors around you on the back, sides, and across the street. But if you take the time to get to know 1 or 2 neighbors, 1 on each side, 1 across the street, write their information down, communicate with them, walk over one day with some flowers or some dessert, and just take the time. Maybe you've lived next to these folks for 3 to 5 years or longer, and you've never really taken the time to get to know them. I always have, and I'm telling you, I have great neighbors at both of my homes. Where when I left in the house key, my alarm code. They went in and fed my cats, and they picked up my mail, and I'm sure they probably had a party or 2 while I was gone. But the house was clean when I got home, so it didn't really matter. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that vehicle burglaries and home burglaries that you guys neighbor across the street is having his mail stolen and his credit card.
Yeah.
They actually opened accounts in his name, and they racked up a pretty good amount of money. I think he said $50,000 worth of debt. Is that something they caught the guy? And I don't know what the procedures were on right now, but is that something else that you heard going on throughout the area? And does it seem to be lessening or getting worse?
Well, I think you're talking about identity theft is what you're talking about, and it's been an ongoing problem. I think where that came about really was when, I think it was Pete Wilson signed into the 3 strikes law a number of years ago. Well, what that did was it actually told crooks that if you commit violent crimes, we're going to strike you each time. And on your 3rd strike, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. Now, they've kind of changed that law, and that's not necessarily the case. But what happened was these crooks were like, I can't do that. I can't go and assault somebody and rob somebody. Even a residential burglary where you actually have contact with somebody could be a strike. So they're going out there and they're being smarter. With technology the way it is, we're seeing a lot more of identity theft. And what I'll tell you, just passing out the flyers last week, there were about 4 or 5 homes that I saw that had their bills ready for the postman or postwoman to come by and pick them up. We suggest that you don't do that. Take the stuff to the post office, and even for some of you that are older and maybe set in your ways, go online and pay your bills. I'm telling you, I've been doing it for years, and it's great. You don't have to pay any postage. This takes you a matter of seconds. You can set it up monthly if you want, or you can set it up whenever you're ready to go pay that bill. You go online and pay the bill. So that's huge. And we'll talk a little bit about identity theft as we go. But yes, it is a problem. Don't leave it out there for them. Don't throw away documents that have social security numbers and your personal information until you shred it or tear it up. Because what a lot of times they'll do is they won't not just go to your front porch, but they'll go through your trash as well. Okay? So you have to be, have to be concerned about that. I want to keep going though, just so we can keep this moving. And great question though, and that is an ongoing problem for us. Yes, I was a victim 2 years ago. And it's just, no matter what you do and how you safeguard yourself, you could very potentially be a victim.
Out of your mailbox?
Not out of my mailbox, no, because I don't do any of that. I do everything online, but I don't even know how they got the information. But they got about $10,000 worth of stuff. So, and all I could do is just write a report, and that was it. And then you're covered. At least you're covered. You're the law. You don't get the loss. The banks do, or the companies do. Okay, next page. This is just a pamphlet that we put on cars at Kmart, TJ Maxx. So if you see one, we haven't done it for a while, but don't worry, it's not a parking ticket or anything like that. But the bottom line is, it's got good information in here. Vehicle burglaries. The reason our vehicle burglaries are such a problem is because people leave stuff in their cars. Look, don't leave anything in your cars. Ladies, don't leave your purses. Guys, don't leave your laptops or wallets, right? If you're going to go shopping, right, or you're going to go to the park, don't walk out of your car and put your purse in the trunk. Or if you're going to go shopping and it's Christmas time and you have your bags, you put them in your trunk to go back into the store again. Guys and gals out there are looking for you. If you're going to do that, drive around the parking lot, park somewhere else where they can't see you. Even if you have bags with nothing in them. Crooks don't know that. It takes you a second to shatter your window. They're in your trunk within a matter of seconds. And the example I use a lot is, we were working the Easter egg hunt a couple years ago, and Brian was there with us, and we had 2 ladies, 2 separate cars, get out of the car about the same time. They go into the trunk, they leave their purses in the trunks. Well, we got it all on video, which was great because the park has video. The problem is, we didn't get the plate of the vehicle, so they got away with it. All right? So you see these 2 guys get out of this car. There's a gal driving, another person driving. They get out, same time, 2 different cars, smash the windows, pop the trunks, in the trunk. They're back in the car, all in a matter of about 30 seconds, and they're gone. Don't leave anything in your car, period. It's too much of a pain in the butt to have to replace your driver's license, your wallet, the money you're never going to get back. And look, the reality is, 95, 96 times out of 100, you're not going to get your stuff back. When you have a residential burglary, they take your sentimental items and your valuables, you're not going to get them back. 95% of the time. So that's why it's important for you to protect your belongings. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We kind of touched on that last year, or last set of meetings. Okay? Lock them up, hide them.
Loose change?
Loose change in a car.
You're worth leaving 50 cents or even $1?
No, because we have a problem with transients in our city as well, which we're going to touch on. So, that's an issue as well. And you're going to see a video of a guy going into a car where they left the window open far away, and he's probably going in for loose change.
So, working your window busted $150.
Right.
$1 worth of change.
Right. And Chris is going to touch on that a little bit for you too. Take a look at this flyer. It tells you the do's and don'ts so you know. The next page is just, look, you don't have to give us all this. If you see somebody suspicious though, just think about maybe, is it a male or a female, the color hair, clothing description, if you can. If you've got somebody suspicious in your neighborhood, we want you calling us. Don't wait, don't think, well, they were rude last time. If you call the station and somebody's rude to you, you can ask for the watch commander, or certainly after the fact, you get a hold of me, let me know, we'll look into it for you. Call. You tell the people at the desk if they give you a problem, hey, Deputy Adams told us to call. Because when you call, that gives us the probable cause that we need to stop that person and find out what they're doing. And if they're not doing anything wrong, great. If they are, that may be the only way we find out about it. Make sense? All right. Okay, and then the last few pages are city services, abandoned shopping carts, who you can call for that, graffiti, and then the 211 line, which is an informational line. Okay? So, no, with the graffiti, you probably haven't seen much of it over the last year because the city contracts with a company called Taggers. They go around on their own regularly. If they see graffiti, they photograph it. They get a GPS signal for where that location is. They date it. They put a dollar amount on that vandalism. We have Martin goes through and tracks all that for us. And we haven't been able to use it lately, but about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we arrested 6 kids, well actually 3 kids and 3 adults, for about 140 separate acts of vandalism. Because it tracks it all, it stores it in this database. We can go back anytime we want and find out how many separate acts there were of that one particular tag or vandalism. You might have, do it or just do it. How many just do it's did we see throughout the city? Could have been 50 to 100. All right? The city contracted with them. They've been a huge help. So they'll go around themselves. But if they haven't picked it up or they haven't found it, make sure you call. And usually within a day or two, they're going to take care of it for you. All right? Okay. Just a couple little things I want to touch on. And then I'm going to get to Kirk so he can do the PowerPoint for us. And we're going to talk about why we're here. We let the area leaders decide after last year's set of meetings, the year before, what we thought you folks would want to hear about. And we're going to mostly concentrate on the drug and theft enforcement and then identifying suspicious activity as well. Okay, just so you all know. Okay, so a couple of things you need to be aware of. Distraction burglaries. We call them poser thefts. Okay? Look, especially with the older folks, but it doesn't even have to be an older person. They'll knock on your door. They'll tell you with the water company you might have an orange vest, the reflective vest, and they're going to go in and tell you that they need to, check your gas line, your pipes, whatever. We had one situation where the guy says, "Oh yeah, I live behind you, and I need to check the back wall to see the size of the wall because I'm going to paint my garage. So can I go through?" So they get in the house, and now they're texting, they're communicating with their partner outside. They're surveying the house, they're checking it out to see if there's anybody home. Once they know it's clear and they've distracted the one person, the other person goes in and steals whatever they can out of the rooms. They're usually gone within a minute or two, depending on how long you're distracted. Okay? The bottom line is this. If you didn't call for someone to come into your house and do a repair, they should not be going in your house, period. If you're not sure, ask for identification. Do not let them in. Ask for identification. And then, if you're still not sure, or even if you have ID and you're not sure, call us. We'll come out and talk and find out what's going on. Do not let them in your home. Look, your home, how many of you leave your back doors unlocked when you're home? How many? A few of you. Okay, good. How about the front doors when you're home and windows? Windows are okay. Yeah, good. Nowadays, I would caution you about leaving your doors, even when you're home, unlocked. Okay? We used to tell kids all the time, when somebody knocks on your door, are you going to answer the door? We tell the kids, right? What's the answer? No, we don't want you to answer the door. Because we don't want some crazy maniac, ripping your kid off. Right? We don't want that to happen. Well, what's going on is we've got these idiots coming in from other areas ripping you off. They're knocking on the front door. There's no response, so they go around the back and they're kicking in your door. Maybe you're sleeping. So what we're suggesting you do is this. Keep your front door locked when you're inside. Keep the back door locked. Because you might be in the house, they may go around and find your door unlocked and come on in. We don't want that happening to you. My aunt lived in the city for years, and she was in her front yard. The front door was locked, but the back door was unlocked, and she was watering. Well, some guy had come over the wall and gone through her home and ripped her off, and was walking out of the house as she was going in the back door. All right? So, this is not to make you paranoid. You have a good city, but don't leave yourself open for any type of potential situation that might happen. All right? If you're not sure about it, by all means, don't let them in your home and call us right away. All right? Now, the other thing we're seeing a lot with older Asian ladies, we have young Asian women approaching these older Asian ladies on the streets and telling them that their grandson has or granddaughter has a curse on them. And they can lift the curse. But they just need, $10,000, $20,000. And it's happened 2 or 3 times, not lately, but within the last year or two. And it happens not just in our town, right? They give them the money and they're supposed to lift the curse and they're supposed to get the money back. When they get the bag back, you think there's $10,000 or $20,000 in there? No, the money's gone. So we want you to be aware of that. Let your neighbors know, let your folks know, And it doesn't have to be specific to the Asian community. Listen.
我刚刚讲的就是金光党，如果是你们有看报纸的话，就会知道，就是天府市曾经发生过几起这个金光党的诈骗案，那他们还没有完全被抓到，所以就是说希望大家还是多注意一下。
Thank you, Lucy. Okay, just a couple things before Kirk gets started. Fumigation burglaries, if you're going to have your house tented, we usually have a gal at the station that lets us know, but sometimes we get those updates late. We've had guys and gals that have gone in with masks. Some, they put a shirt over their face. Your homes aren't locked, right? They're usually put an open window or an open door. They're going in to rip you off. So if you're going to have your house tented for termites, let us know. We'll come out there and keep an eye on it. But even more important, talk to your neighbors. Say, hey, we're going to be out of the house for a couple days. You mind keeping an eye on it? Take the time to get to know your neighbors. Most of your neighbors are pretty good. You might have, a crummy neighbor or two, but most of your neighbors you can at least talk to and communicate with them. And then lastly, I just want to touch on transients. Lost students by Ralph's. We have the recycling center over there. It's been an ongoing problem. There's a lawsuit going on right now with the company. The city, we're trying to get rid of it. Look, we want to be able to recycle. A lot of regular folks, normal folks, good, honest, hardworking people want to recycle. The problem is it's right in the middle of Las Tunas, right in the middle of the downtown area. In 1 year alone, I went through and got records of all the calls from Baldwin to Rosemead on Las Tunas only, and there were like 95 calls for service with either the transients that we deal with on a regular basis, their name in the calls, or the call said transient. I mean, it's just horrible. These guys and gals will steal from your cars, they'll urinate in public, they're sleeping in front of your businesses. Ralph's used to have a bench in front, so older folks or anybody could go and sit down if they wanted. They had to get rid of it because no matter how much we cited these dummies, they kept coming back. But know this, we do transient operations all the time. We cite these guys all the time. Most move on. But, there are laws protecting these people too. It's not against the law to be homeless, right? But we do have other laws that we can actually use to enforce the violations that we see. Because, look, I go to church every week. I'm all about charity. I've given a lot over the years, my time, my money. I believe in that. I really do. But we don't want these people around ripping you off. I don't want them in my neighborhoods, and I'm sure you don't want them either. Unfortunately, the system is the way it is. Okay, with that said, I want to give Kirk an opportunity to do the PowerPoint. I think Rob's going to jump in there with us as well. And we want to talk to you before the city does their part, kind of about the drugs and the thefts and suspicious activity.
Okay, once again, I'm Deputy Cardella. Like Rick said, I was born and raised in Temple City, so I have a vested interest to make sure, things don't continue going downward and keep where we're at, being safe here. I'd like to make this as much as possible, as safe as it was when I was a kid growing up here, where I could do whatever I needed to and not have to worry about people stealing my stuff. So for me, that's one of my main goals when I'm out here, is trying to make sure it's safe and it still stays safe, and hopefully it continues this way and we do the job that you guys want, and we'll do that for you. I'm going to go through this PowerPoint real quick. Can you guys hear me? I can speak up if you want. All right. Okay, the common factors between drugs and thefts. Most thefts are committed by drug users or addicts. Most thefts committed by people traveling through. We do have homes where drug activity occurs within the city. Okay, so it is not uncommon. Residential and vehicle burglaries are the most common crimes occurring right now in our city. And methamphetamine and marijuana are the most common drugs. The things with this, traveling through, most of our crime is actually people coming through, driving through the city. It's not actually, we do have residents that are bad, that we take to jail, but most of it is, like I said, up here driving through. Narcotic locations. We have and have had narcotic locations in our city. Residents calling about foot traffic, vehicular traffic, and middle-aged adults on bikes. These are the things that we're looking for with you guys. Okay, this is the stuff we look at. People will pull up in front of your house, who stay out there, tinted windows, they're just kind of hanging out. and they've been out there for 30, 40 minutes. You don't know the car, you don't know the person, call us. You guys give us a legal reason to come by and say, hey, how you doing? What are you doing here? Okay? You say to us, hey, this person doesn't belong, they've been parked across my neighbor's house, they're on vacation, no one's supposed to be there. Well, we're making sure they're not going to try and burglarize that house. For you guys to call us, you give us the probable cause to go in contact. With these also, you have this foot traffic and adults on bikes. Okay, sounds odd, but what 30 to 40-year-old guy is going to be riding a BMX bike for a kid down your street? Probably your drug users and things, because they can't afford a car. They can't do these things. These guys riding around in and out of driveways. We had one guy who would roll up inside his driveway, kind of drive around, see if he hears anybody home, and then try and take what he could. So those are things we need. You see guys like that, shady looking, dirty, they're riding a bike, they're in your area, call us. We want to meet these people. We want to let them know that we know who they are and that they need to move on and stay out of this area.
And on that note, Kirk, just so you know, today I had a call from someone that could not make the meeting, but she says, hey, I'm concerned about a house. I won't give you the address right now because we're being taped. And this lady thinks there might be something going on, and it could be narcotic activity. So this is where, working together is so huge. A lot of times we won't even hear about that type of activity. I had a council member call me 2 days ago about the gypsy house I was telling you about, and I hadn't even dealt with them. They'd been there for about a year, and the problems have been increasing. So unless you tell us about it, we're not always going to know about it.
And some of these narcotic locations have been ongoing problems. We've had multiple arrests, search warrants, and compliance checks done over the years in some locations. There is an increase in theft near narcotic locations due to the drug users stealing vehicles and homes. Okay, that goes in with don't be a victim. Don't just, it's a hot day, you just don't want to grab all the stuff, your purse, and you're going to run in real quick and leave the windows down. Don't do that. We have on many occasions, and I think it was our last meeting when we were walking around passing out flyers. Nice Mercedes-Benz sitting there, windows down, wallet sitting right there on the center console. And I could see his money in his wallet. If I was a bad guy, I would have been gone in a heartbeat and had everything this guy had with him in his wallet, had his ID and all his information and his credit cards. I know we mentioned earlier about identity theft. That is one of the highest increasing thefts right now because it's so easy. If you do not have a shredder at home for your personal documentation, I would buy one. You can go to Staples, buy a little bitty one that does about 2 papers at a time and shred everything that has anything personal with your name, birthday, and all that stuff. Because it does not take much for them to sit there and grab your name as John Doe, male white, male Hispanic, and just boom, they're off and running. Okay, so just something to think about if you don't have a shredder. Identity theft is on the rise. Yes?
Shredder is better.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, one that really, makes it, all crossed up, because then it's real small, and they're not going to sit there and try and glue that together. The ones that make them in the lines, they may do that, they do have nothing but time, and some will go through your trash, like my partner stated, and just sit there trying to put the puzzle together. It takes a lot of time, but they have nothing but time because they don't work. The big thing right now that we have going on is we have marijuana grows, okay? And this is young males renting homes and paying for several months up front. Things to look for, all the windows will be completely covered to prevent anyone from looking inside. They'll either have like a tin foil or some kinds of boards, towels, blankets, anything in there to keep it nice and dark. Nobody coming or going to the residence except every other day and only in the late evenings. What goes on inside the residence that you can't see is very bad, and we'll show you some pictures on what they do to your property if you're actually renting these things out. And why marijuana grows are so popular. They're so popular because they turn around such a large turnaround in cash. If you have an individual has a home and they rented it out and it's a 5-bedroom home, they will use everything. There's no room going to waste, and they will grow these plants. If they do what they call a fast grow, that's 3 months. In 3 months, they can make about $120,000 on a house, a 4 or 5-bedroom house. Okay, they do that 4 times a year. They're making more money than I'm making in years, and they just continue to do it. Marijuana is the fastest growing. Marijuana grows are fast, and they do have them in the city. We did catch one about 2-3 months ago in the northwest area of the city, and that was because of the residents. Residents are calling up. hey, you hear these weird noises early in the morning, and it's probably between, anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 in the morning. What they're doing is they have these vents, and what they're doing at night is they're blowing all that marijuana smell from the house out up into the sky, so it vents the house out so you guys can't smell it. But the neighbors kept hearing it, going, why is this going on at this house? And we talked to them, and they said, well, we don't ever see anybody coming, but if they do, it's very late at night. Give us all the indications that this might be a marijuana grow. It actually was. I think they wound up catching $60,000 in cash. 3 people went to jail, and a lot of narcotics went through with it. So,
For about 700 plants, maybe?
Yeah.
1,000?
You'll normally see about 1,000 plants in a house. And just something to think about. Kirk mentioned the windows are going to be covered. They're going to have blinds and drapes. You're not even going to know. But behind those drapes or those blinds, they'll put up drywall so that you can't hear what's going on, you can't smell, you can't see. So it's secure, and you'll see pictures about, what goes on inside and how it looks. But not only are they doing look, you'll have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 homes in one city, but they may have 5 to 10 other homes throughout other cities, and they're doing the same thing. And it's usually younger male Asians. You're not going to see anybody coming or going out of the house, okay? But crimes start out, different cultures have different ways of committing their crimes. But that doesn't mean another group, another ethnic group may not come along and do it. So even though we see young male Asians doing it right now, who all look like, college kids, and some of them actually are, they're not your gangsters with tattoos, looking like crooks, okay? But it won't take long for other people to learn from them and do the same thing. So you want to be looking for guys or gals or anybody moving in late at night. You don't see any activity. The air conditioning's running throughout the whole, all day and night, things like that. And if you see something like that, email me or call me, let me know. We'll go. Hey, at the very least, if we can't get in for whatever legal reason, we'll knock on the door and contact and find out what's going on. So it's something to keep in mind. Can you figure 120? I've been told in a 2-month period from start to finish, depending on the size of the grow and everything, and how they're selling it and distributing it, you're talking $120,000 to $150,000 every 2 months for one house. That's huge. Listen, cut me in. Yeah, I'm in the wrong line of work.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple pictures here of what happened. So hopefully none of you guys are homeowners that rent out your multiple properties and haven't heard from your renters in like 6 to 8 months. If you don't hear from them, contact them. Try to get a hold of them just because.
Go by every couple of months and just door knock and set up an appointment to go in and take a look around. If you're not sure. If you feel pretty confident you got good tenants, then I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, here we go. Right here, this picture, I don't know if can you guys see that all pretty good? What you have here is you got a big system here which is going to throw out all the smell of the marijuana. Okay, it does get pretty potent with these little plants here as they're growing. It smells pretty distinctive. If you haven't smelled it, you'll know it when you smell it. Next we have here, this is what they're going to do to your house. They're going to just start attaching stuff all over your walls so they can get all the power they can. They're going to put these converters in here. Okay, they're not worried if your electrical throughout your house gets fried because it's not their home. They just want to know what they can do to get their product growing as fast as they can and use all these light bulbs. Okay, here is a garage. We don't waste any space. We're using everything. They have all these wires, all these plants in different stages, and then you can put these little aluminum stuff on the backside of the garage there with the lights to keep the light intensity in so these things can grow fast. Here we go in the kitchen because we don't eat food in our kitchen, we grow weed. They're going to do all this stuff here. Nothing is going to get unturned. The only thing you'll probably find when you go to these homes is maybe in the front room, you'll have a TV sitting on maybe a nightstand, a couple chairs, maybe a PlayStation or an Xbox, because that's all they're going to do in there while they're there feeding the plants, is just hang out briefly and then they're gone. Here's this, there's preparation, all the chemicals and things that they're going to use to get ready to go. So these things right here are real bad. The reason being is this smell of this marijuana is going to get inside your drywall. Okay, you're not going to get rid of it. You're going to wind up having to take down all your drywall, ceiling, roof, everything, and redo it. if they fried your electrical system because they're just hitting it with all these converters to get all the energy dispersed throughout the house, now that becomes a tenant's issue, right? Because they're renting and now they're in jail. Yes, sir.
This air filtration system, does it filter the air and then vent it to the outside? Or is it
They'll
just-
shoot it out through maybe a window, or they'll shoot it up into the attic, and they'll, try and use one of the air vents up on the top. Things you can see, like what we'll look for when we go look, if someone says this might be a home, sometimes you'll see these big, these tubes like this on the side of a house. So if you've been in your resident for a while and all of a sudden you notice these huge tubes on your neighbor's yard just going towards the back of the house, and then it just kind of goes nowhere to the back and then just open. And it's coming from like the window or something. That's odd. It shouldn't happen that way. It's not like they're pumping out all the nice cold air conditioning air outside.
So actually, those filters work, you can't smell it?
They work pretty good. Sometimes depending on what they're growing and what strand and the things, smell of it and how strong it is, sometimes you can smell it when you're walking up to the home. But they're trying their best because they don't want you to smell it. Because if you smell it and you start calling and saying, hey, what's going on over here, that calls us. And we get to go over there and have probable cause to go and find out. They don't want that. They want to do everything they can to dispel that smell into the air so you guys don't call us. Because that'll take away from the money that they make. Okay. Residential burglaries. Most occur during weekdays during the day while we are at work. Securing your homes and working alarm systems are the best ways to protect ourselves. Communicating with your neighbors and keeping an eye out will prevent burglaries. Calling out suspicious people in your neighborhood on foot or in cars. And like my partner said, distraction burglaries are on the rise, especially with elderly people. These things here, if you know your neighbors, I mean, I've just moved recently. Like I said, I was born and raised here. I just recently moved, so I've only been in my area, street where I live, for like the last 3 months. But I pretty much have it locked down. Maybe I'm OCD and I'm like that because I want to know who's around, where I'm at. But I kind of already know whose cars are supposed to be at a certain house, when they're there, when they're not. I know, the lady across the street's a firefighter, but she's only there on and off. And I know my neighbors enough to know if someone odd came by, they shouldn't be there. If these people do that, please call us. If you get together with your neighbors, even if it's a contact number when you do leave. We also have things that you guys can do with us. We can call the station. We have vacation checks, okay, extra patrol checks. While you leave on vacation, you can call us a couple days prior and tell us, hey, I'm leaving on vacation this Friday. I will not be back till the next Friday. Here's my name, here's my number, here's my address and a contact number. Say, we will drive by. We'll brief that on every briefing, let everyone know to drive by who works in that area, check by your home. So that is another thing you guys can do to help prevent any other things. Especially if your neighbors are home and they're not watching, please don't be scared to call us if you think it's a meaningless thing to do and you're just wasting our time. A lot of times people won't call and they'll say, I did see somebody out there, but I didn't think it was a big deal. Call us. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's a cousin relative that you don't know who's coming to visit your neighbor that you've never seen. But that gives us the ability to go down there and find out for you. One time, I think it just recently, one of the other ones that just happened is car was out front and actually the person was inside burglarizing the home and they didn't want to call. So could we have caught them? Possibly. Would we have? I'm not sure, I wasn't there, but you give us a better tool to try to get that. Vehicle burglaries and thefts. Vehicle locked, the crime becomes a burglary. Unlocked, the crime becomes a petty theft or grand theft. If you don't lock your vehicle and someone steals your iPod and stuff, that's what that means. If it's locked and they have to physically break in, it's going to be a burglary. Okay?
Which is a lot more serious.
It's a felony instead of, yeah.
So lock your cars.
Do not leave your vehicles unlocked. I know my partner mentioned it. Ladies, with your purses, and we've all gotten smart to put them behind the driver's seat. They know that. Also, hey, he mentioned the fact that we were in shopping centers and you put them in the trunk. They watch you. They actually will sit in this parking lot waiting to see who gets out. If all the girls go out that day and there's 4 of you and you get out of the car and you put everything in the trunk, they're looking to see if maybe it's going there. They can actually break your rear tail light on certain vehicles, smack it with a hammer, reach inside, grab the lock, pop your trunk, and they're gone in 10 seconds with everything you got. Okay. I know my partner mentioned before, ladies, if you want to go shopping, please do, but maybe you don't need to take the whole house and everything with you in your purse. Maybe you take 1 or 2 credit cards and your ID, and you keep it on you. They do have those little metal containers that you can put all your little cards in and put in your pocket. Okay, there are things that they have out here because criminals have nothing but time. Little card scanners. They can walk actually right by you, not even touch you, and they can scan your information off the credit card and burn a brand new credit card and go out there and start having fun. With these little metal containers, they can't, the scanning portion of that device doesn't get through and penetrate that, and they can't get your stuff. So just so you know. Don't leave anything in your cars. Please don't make yourself a victim by leaving the cool, nice stuff, your Garmin, your navigation systems. Those are one of the biggest things stolen right now because we always leave them in there. Because if we don't know where we're going, we just type it in and it tells us where to go. Take it out, or at least maybe put it in the glove box if you don't want to take it in the home. But if it's anything of value that you want to cherish and keep, take it inside with you. If you have an alarm, please use it. Transient and drug addicts love to break into cars. They do. It's quick and easy. It takes 4 to 5 seconds to break the window, and then they're in and gone. Half the time you probably won't even know what happened until you wake up the next day and say, oh man, what happened? And then you're trying to figure out what was on the, your passenger seat that you left.
Anybody can be a victim, because Kurt was a victim a few months back. Some drug addict tried to
Steal my car. Yeah, tried to steal my car. Then when my wife was in the window. Basically, the guy tried to break in.
That was in Temple City too.
Right up here in the north end of Temple City. I'll go through it real quickly. It's like 10:30. I'm getting ready to go to sleep. Hear the car alarm go off, and everyone's like, you know how that goes, right? Is that my car? No, I think that's the neighbor's. You start listening, right? Is that really mine? Yeah, it might be. Let me go check. So we go out. I go out. My wife's following me, and I'm looking through the big bay windows out the front, and my flashing lights on my car are going off. So now I'm thinking, oh man. So I go outside and I see a vehicle leave. So I'm thinking, hey, maybe this guy in the car tried to break into my car. So I get in, tell my wife, go in the house. I'm just gonna go grab the license plate of the vehicle, and then I'll be right back. As I turn the corner, probably was gone only about 15 to 20 seconds. The guy comes from down the south on the street, out of the darkness, and goes up to my other car that's on the street and tries to start jimmying and breaking into the car. So my wife gets on the phone and starts calling. As I come around the corner again, like 20 seconds later, she comes running out. There he goes. I'm like, what are you talking about? And there's this guy running down the street. So lo and behold, we caught the guy. He was down the street at a drug addict's house. That was a known, guy where they always come and frequent. And we caught him. He went to jail. So don't think that criminals just pick on regular residents. I'm a regular resident. I just work as a police officer. So when I'm home, I'm a good victim too if I leave myself open. I try not to. We do our best, but they don't discriminate on who they steal from. Okay, this individual is, it's a funny case. My partner, Deputy Alvarez here, he actually was handling this. He had a slew of burglaries on one street. He had a couple burglary calls in his box, and that's our little computer. He goes to the first house, starts taking a report, gets all the information, goes to the next house. As he's walking out, a neighbor comes out and says, hey, my house was robbed. And that, so he goes to that one. Once he gets done, it's a trickling effect. I think he was on number 5 or 6 at the time. And I'll let him continue on this part.
I only come in on the good parts.
Yeah, he likes to talk, so.
Anyways, I'm the newest member of this team of Adams and Cadell. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Deputy Alvarez. Louder? Can you hear me? I'm Deputy Alvarez. I've been at the station about 4 or 5 years now. I'm the new guy on the team, but as I was on patrol, this was about a year ago, this individual right here is, what he was doing is wreaking havoc on Temple City. He was breaking into cars, breaking into residences, stealing everything he can. He was high on drugs, probably on meth. But anyways, on this particular day, I'm on patrol. I get a call, the report call, someone broke into a house. I get to the location. All the residents are coming out because I guess this guy came that night and broke into 4 houses and 2 cars. He just stole everything on that street. So as I'm going down the, individuals taking reports on individual incidences, I get to the last guy. And this is what my partners are really stressing on this neighborhood watch is, if you're not involved in helping us, we can't help you. This last individual that he broke into his garage, if it wasn't for him pulling me to the side and saying, I want to report, because he really didn't want to report. All he wanted to do was just notify me that he broke into his garage. That was it. He goes, hey, he broke into my garage, that was it, and he was walking away. I turned to him and I said, well, what was taken? He's like, well, I really want to make a report. Again, this is putting on you to help us. it wasn't for him to turn around and say, you know what, okay, I'll take a report. They broke into his garage. They didn't take anything other than 50-cent pieces and a couple of miscellaneous items. But what he did when he broke into the garage is he left a backpack. And inside the backpack was an iPod. An iPod that he took pictures of himself, flipping himself off.
Yeah,
Thank God they're not very smart.
Think about it. How
Right.
many people are going to take a picture smoking and doing that? It's probably the guy who owns
Right.
the iPod, right?
And so when I saw this picture, I immediately notified my partner who's been in the city 1,000 years and knows everybody. And he tells me, and I sent him the picture and I said, hey, do you know this individual? And right away he knew this person. Okay? I sent it to every partner and Kurt, the first person I responded, said, this is so-and-so. Just that information, we got a face to a burglary that's gonna, I mean, pretty much close.
There was probably about 16 burglaries, residential vehicles within that area. That goes with if someone, please, if you have the time, have them come and do fingerprints to your home and the area. I know it's kind of rough if it's some of the areas where you really need to use, whether it be a cup or a counter. If you can, you try to not touch those areas because on a lot of those things we weren't able to get any usable. But I think we cleared it up with about 4 that we actually were able to put on him with his prints and things. So, but he even admitted when the detective went to talk to him in the county jail that, yeah, I'm so high at these times I don't even know what happened or what I'm doing. I don't even know where half the property went. I'm just doing my thing. So he was a good guy to put away.
Yeah, towards the end of his stint where he was breaking into houses and locations, he was on such a rampage that he was just, picking a whole street, breaking into houses and cars, multiple, like the whole street. He was just so high that he was just trying to break in and get property, steal stuff, individual. Some of the lokes he was breaking into, there was actual people in there, what we call hot prowls. Those are the most dangerous burglaries. Is because you're in there, anything can happen, dynamic. He breaks in, he sees you, there could be a fight, it could be a struggle, he could have a weapon, he could hurt you, he could hurt your family members, he could do anything. And that's how high this guy was because, you commit a crime, a heinous crime as robbery or burglary in a house, and you're in there, that's probably the most dangerous. And he didn't care. He was so high. When we actually detained him at a loc in Temple City, when he was in my back seat, he was high on drugs at that time. And even his partners that were, his crimies were saying, hey, we don't have nothing to do with this guy. This guy's out of control. But anyways, moving forward, there's a video on him.
Yeah, this will be him again, which is a totally different case. Another burglary that we had, and myself and Sergeant Miranda, we read the reports so we can kind of get familiar with whatever's going on in the city. I read this one, and a sergeant did too, and it said, hey, there's video. We went and obtained the video, and I watched it. Just by watching this video, I already knew who it was. And as bad as you think it looks, by the way his characters, mannerisms, as you see him coming into the picture, it's a little off. I was able to tell. At one point, I'll see if I can pause it. You'll see he's got 2 tattoos on his wrists. Okay, because of that, I already knew 100% who it was. And what happened here is this. It's probably, let's see, what's the date? This is back on the 17th, October 17th of 2012. The gentleman here who owns the vehicle left his window cracked about 3 or 4 inches on his driver's side. And what he's doing is reaching in and just trying to get the door unlocked. As you can see, he's got fingers all over. There's no gloves, nothing. He's not trying to conceal what he's doing. He's just trying to get in. I don't know what it is. I don't recall what was being stolen at the time. I think it comes out with a bag and all kinds of things inside that bag. But this is just like we said, a crime of opportunity. If you do leave stuff in there and a nice individual lives in the city or coming through sees it, they're going to try and do this. He's spending some nice time in there. Luckily, this guy had some video. I'm not saying you all need to go get video, but it's an option if you'd like. Motion sensor lights on your driveway, side yard, things in that nature could help out, deter someone, because they do not want to be seen if they're trying to steal your property.
Sir, do you want to let Brian do this?
Yeah, I'm going to cut it real quick. Basically, what's going to happen here is another 3-4 minutes. This gentleman's just going to be rifling to the car, and there's a big workout bag, and he's going to be putting stuff in the back, and then he winds up walking away from it and out of view. So that is going to conclude what we have for you, and then we will turn this over to the city here, let Brian talk. And if you guys have any other questions and things after the meeting and after they're done, we'll be here to answer any other questions you guys have. So thank you.
All right, folks, like Rick said, my name is Brian. I'm the public safety supervisor for the city of Temple City. And this is Jillian Nunez, one of our community preservation officers. The captain talked about it a little bit earlier, but I just kind of want to touch base again. It's because of programs like this that the city's involved, the sheriff's department, and mainly the residents involved is why Temple City is the city that it is. As stated, the Temple City has been ranked among 40th among the 100 safest cities in the United States, and 6th among cities in California. So that is kind of a real proud accomplishment that we can have for Temple City, and that is again because we have residents that are involved in the city, that care about the community, and do not take crime laying down. If they see something, this is my city, I report it. So we appreciate that mentality. One of the other things that we do with the program, as Deputy Adams mentioned before, and with our area leaders, is we have like evaluation forms. These forms help us structure the future presentations for next year. Lets us know what topics we discussed, if the residents like it, what you would like us to see. Critique us. Be brutally honest. We're not going to get our feelings hurt. It's how we make the program better. So if there's something that you don't like, tell us you don't like it, and tell us why you didn't like it, and maybe tell us what you think we can do to fix it. One of the things that we do with these is we take them, it's not just you filling them out and they get filed away. We look at them, review them, and we want to hear the honest truth as far as what you thought about the presentation. I'm going to be passing these out, and after the presentations are done, as Deputy Adams mentioned, we'll be raffling off the tickets. So once you turn in your eval, we'll give you a raffle ticket, and we'll raffle off the gift cards to Carl Jr. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Jillian.
Hi, as Brian said, my name is Jillian Nunez, and I'm one of the community preservation officers with the City of Temple City. So I'll make this real quick for you guys, just a brief recap on what the sheriff is saying. There we go. So to start off, I want to cover the accomplishments that Neighborhood Watch did last year. What we did was we switched from code enforcement to community preservation. We implemented a new program called PHASE, which stands for Focus Area Systematic Enforcement. And we went over property maintenance codes and building codes and different city services. This year, we're going to be focusing on something that goes hand in hand with what the sheriffs have been discussing throughout this whole presentation. And it's called SEPTED, and how community preservation can help prevent and reduce crime through the use of these SEPTED methods. So what is SEPTED? SEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. It's an approach to deter criminal behavior, and its effective use and design of a property to lead to a reduction in the fear and incidence of crime, and an improvement in the quality of life. So this is a quick example of SEPTED methods in effect. We have bushes that are low, and also fences that are low, and what this does is it defines the property line without creating these hiding spaces. We have large windows that promote supervision of the sidewalk, of your front yard area, so you can casually look outside and you can see exactly what's going on without having to take special measures. We have lighting on the street, or even lighting at your property, as I believe the deputies are saying, motion sensor lighting, different things like that. So the first SEPTED method that I'd like to go over is natural surveillance. And natural surveillance is the capacity to see what is occurring outside your home without having to take those special measures. Some examples of natural surveillance are well-maintained properties, such as hedges, bushes, vegetation, that do not block any type of windows or entrances. Also adequate lighting, warning signs, and alarm system signs. There's actually a house behind these hedges right here. And you can't see anything. Looking in, if the sheriffs were to respond to your house, how would they be able to see what's going on at your property if they can't even see past the hedges? And vice versa, if you were looking outside, how can you see anything that's going on outside your property, beyond the front yard, and the sidewalk, and the street? Because you can't see anything because these large hedges are blocking your view. And this is an example of well-maintained property with hedges that do not block the windows, do not block the doors, and we also have warning signs that are posted right in public view. This is actually a case that community preservation staff worked on. This is a before photo. You have a vegetation blocking the window. You have a blind that's on the exterior of the house. You have someone that appears to be not maintaining their property. It doesn't seem to care about what their property reflects onto their community or their neighborhood. And this is after. They cut the hedges and simply watered the grass. A big difference, something so simple can do to your property and your neighborhood. And then warning signs. You have warning signs posted on your private property in public view, notifying the public, opportunists, any types of criminals that you are watching, and someone is watching, and someone's aware of what's going on their property. This is a house. You can't really see. There's a light right above that front door. If you have a light, simply turn it on. It deters criminals more than you can imagine because they don't want to be seen. They don't want you to see what they're doing on your own property. And this is well-lit front yard. You can see what's going on without having to take those special measures. The second step-10 method is territorial reinforcement. These are design elements such as decorative fencing, landscaping. These elements help distinguish the difference between what is public and what is private. And this is a perfect example of this territorial reinforcement. You have a low fence that has gaps in between, and it defines their property line without creating those hiding places. Now, I'm going to move on to maintenance. This is the third step-10 method that I feel is the most important. Let's talk about the negative effects of unmaintained properties or even neglected properties. We have criminal activity crime rate that increases. We have long-term residents that will move out of the city due to lack of maintenance because of their neighbors. We have decreased property values. We have impact on your investments, whether you're renting, whether you're selling, whether you're purchasing your home. We have new residents that are simply afraid to move into the city, and we have increased property values. So maintenance, it ultimately makes it a safer place. And this is an unmaintained property. This is another case that community preservation staff worked on. To me, this house looks vacant. To me, an opportunist will simply walk by this house, think it's vacant. A homeless person will try to squat in this house, to try to find some place to live. And you have weeds growing out of control. This is after. Someone lived there. It wasn't vacant. And simply watering your lawn, cutting the grass, taking care of your property shows a lot about how you feel about your community.
Can you go back to the previous
Yes,
one?
I can. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. And these homes are in Temple City. These homes are in Temple City. Big difference. I have more. Don't worry.
I like that roof.
There's a hole in this roof. You could see into the house. And this house actually, the rear burned down. I don't know the exact circumstances, but it was vacant for years. For years, this house was vacant and stood alone on the street as a neglected, abandoned property. What do you think this sends a message to the homeowners, to people walking by that don't belong in this city? So before I go to the next, I want you all to ask yourself, would you rather live next to a house that looks like this or like that? It's a big difference. Someone caring for their property, what it does to the entire community. This house simply had no landscaping in the front yard. That was the main problem with this house. And this is after. They put new sod down, and it speaks volumes. This is actually in an alley. These people were parking their abandoned cars on dead grass in the alley, and they repainted it. So, in conclusion, preventing crime in our community, it involves everyone. It involves the sheriffs, it involves city staff, but most importantly, it involves city residents such as yourself. We all work together to reduce crime, to improve the quality of life. We increase safety. We have good school districts to send our children to, and we keep our city clean and our property values increased. So this is a home value comparison chart of Temple City. We're right below Arcadia in prices, and Arcadia, yes, is a little more expensive. They have larger lots than Temple City does, but we're right below, and these are all our surrounding communities. So our property values are going up, but they can increase if we continue to maintain our property. And this is how to contact or notify the city if you guys would like more information or you'd like to report any violations to us. More than welcome. Thank you. I think Brian's next.
again, one of the other topics that we have is the emergency preparedness. The city, we can't do it alone. We have 36 full-time employees. We have 36,000 residents in the city. And so, just doing the math, we're not going to be able to take care of everybody. One of the things that we depend on is the community being prepared and doing what you can to prepare yourself, help your neighbors, help your family, and then help the community. One of the ways that we do that is by preparing for a disaster. Disasters can be anything from man-made to natural disasters. 2011, we had the windstorms of Temple City. That was something that nobody here expected that we would have. And it was a pretty big disaster for Temple City, but fortunately it was localized enough that it wasn't a major disaster for all of Southern California. It tested our resources, tested everything. Some residents were out one day with power, and some in this area maybe no power was lost. Some residents were out with 7 days. And so it just goes to show you. And with that disaster, it was actually just big enough but not too big that we didn't lose water, we didn't lose gas, all you lost was power. So if you have a catastrophic earthquake and we lose gas, water, power, your house is crumbled to the floor, it just kind of shows you what's going on with that. Temple City windstorm. So these were what occurred. With the windstorm, who here knew what to do if their property went out and had some issues on their property, had some concerns regarding power outages, or knew what was going on? Right now, something happens, someone crashes in the street, someone goes in the house. This area, we had a power outage yesterday. What happens? You call 911, who responds? The sheriff's department, the fire department. In a major disaster, you call 911. If you get a dial tone, you're not going to get that 3-minute response from the sheriff's department and the fire department. You may get a 3-day response, maybe a 10-day response, depending on the size of the disaster and how localized it is. Do you know what to do if your house looks like this?
Move out.
Talk to your landlord. And so, again, these are pretty damaged structures. They're badly damaged. Do you know, if you hear someone sitting in there yelling, "Help me, I'm stuck inside," do you know how you're going to respond to that?
Yeah.
Most people in here don't. I have one gentleman here that seems like he's on board, and so. But your natural human reaction is you want to help someone. And you want to run in there and maybe pull that person out. Maybe if it's an adult, you're not going to be as tempted. You have a 6-year-old kid in there yelling, "Help me, help me, help me." Kids tug at those heartstrings, and people just want to do whatever they can, and they throw all caution out the wind when they want to respond to help a child. This is a slide. In 2010, we had the Great Southern California Shakeout. This is a scenario that was created by Caltech, and it represents a 7.8 magnitude on the San Andreas Fault, starting at the Salton Sea and working way north. The San Andreas Fault is overdue for an earthquake, and so us in emergency management, when we talk about earthquakes, it's not when or if it will happen, it's when. The San Andreas Fault usually has an earthquake every 150 years. I think this one's pushing 400 years since the last earthquake on that fault, so it's overdue. I'm going to show you a simulation on what it does. Northwind earthquake, Chino Hills earthquake. For people, those probably felt like minutes that the ground was shaking. In reality, it was seconds. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You'll see the clock on the simulation here. When we have the big earthquake, it's going to be shaking. It's going to shake a lot. People probably saw some of the news footage with the earthquake in Japan, how it was constantly shaking. You can look at the shaking maybe waiting for 3 minutes on, and especially in the San Gabriel Valley, you'll see what it represents on the map. So here it starts. Go again. So it starts at the Salton Sea, and it's going to work its way north. The yellow area is the higher impact area. That is where the most violent shaking is occurring. And as it's going north, watch the clock over here. In San Bernardino County, big waves going out, and the landmass determines how much shaking and what type of shaking is going to occur as well. Salton Sea is still shaking down here, and it's been 1 minute 20 seconds. We're getting now in Temple City, and you can see it's pretty intense on shaking. 1 minute 40. still shaking pretty good as it's going up towards Santa Barbara. We're almost a minute into it shaking in Temple City, 2.5 minutes since it started at the Salton Sea. Temple City's still right there where the shaking's occurring. And again, this is going almost 2 minutes into it, so for it to shake 2 to 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending on the size of the earthquake, is not unheard of. And it's something that we need to prepare for as a city, both the city staff and as the residents. We do have a program that Freddie is going to talk about a little bit more, that the community can get involved, get some training, and kind of prepare yourself, and then go beyond that as well.
Pretty scary, huh? Okay, so, yes, sir.
You know, I saw that video 3 years ago before it was released to the general public because I'm involved with an actual disaster. And I was really shocked to see that. But what's not being said here is that if that magnitude or that earthquake was to happen, we wouldn't have any utilities for almost 90 days.
Correct.
You're on your own for 3 months.
Yeah.
And that's
That's very devastating. I mean, I got 6 months of food in my house.
Where do you live?
I do. And you can ask her, every room has food in the house. When we had that disaster in 2011, that windstorm, I was the only one, well, I have a technical call to the sheriff's department, but I was the only one within 4 blocks of serving coffee. Because I have a power generator that powered up the house.
Yeah. And you're the exception to the rule.
And I wish everybody else had that.
And that's what we're trying to do tonight, is get people more involved and have the same mindset.
That's why we have this program called CERT, Community Emergency Response Team. And CERT is a program where you can mitigate the problem within the first 72 hours. And this program is offered to every Temple City resident. We have other teams in different cities, like our neighboring city of Rosemead, that we work with also. And we just want the residents to get involved with this program because, if a major earthquake was to happen, you would be able to prepare yourself. And like I said, you can mitigate the problem within the first 72 hours. And these are some of the topics that we'll be going through in the CERT training. And also, the CERT training is offered on Saturdays. The way we schedule it, it will be it's 3 weeks, but on Saturdays. These are some of the topics that we'll be talking about: disaster preparedness, disaster fire suppression and utility controls, emergency medical operations part 1, emergency medical operations part 2, the life search and rescue operations. As far as the pictures that my supervisor showed you, that would you be able to go into these houses where you're gonna make that decision when you get to those houses. Do you have the training to go into these houses? Is it safe enough for you? Do you want to become a victim yourself? I know you want to help out the residents, but the way they become victims, it's easier for you to become a victim as well. And there's a CERT team organization, disaster psychology, terrorism and CERT, course review and disaster simulations that we'll have at the end of the course. These are some of the pictures of our previous teams that graduated from the CERT program. How many of you own a fire extinguisher? How many of you know how to use that fire extinguisher? Good. And so this is some of the trainings and that you'll be going through, how to be able to put out a fire, how the residents that live by you, how assist them in medical-wise. Some of the other pictures. Some of our previous graduates. And the fire department gets really involved with this program, and we work together. We're a great team: the Public Safety Division, the Fire Department, and the Sheriff's Department. And also, we don't have a class set yet for the next CERT program, but we do have a sign-up sheet. I believe it's up here in the front. So if after when the meeting's over, you can come on by, put down your information, your name, phone number, and a address that we can contact you for the next meeting?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just a question, does the city of Temple City have any representatives in the state of California emergency response teams?
What,
Because of this training?
what do you mean representatives as far as?
And somebody that would respond in conjunction with the state of California.
Well, each agency,
The city of LA, we have teams in there, okay? And they are connected to the state emergency response system.
well, LA City, probably with the fire department, has a whole different program. LA County Fire is part of the California Task Force that is a FEMA group that would respond nationwide. Temple City and the way emergency management works in the state of California is there is a standardized emergency management system, meaning every city government, every water district, school district, any government organization, all the way from the water district to the governor's office, all have to have a standard practice, and that's why it's the standardized emergency management system. So that if I go as an emergency manager to Sacramento or to San Francisco, I don't have to worry about learning how they do things. It's standardized. I can go in there and I just need to learn who the players are and what's going on with that. But if they say, well, I need a logistics chief, I can go and step in there and say, okay, well, I'm a logistics chief at my work. I can do it. So I know what forms they use, what the standard is, how to order supplies, and how to get things done. I just don't know necessarily the people that are working with me.
So it is connected to the.
We are all of us are connected in that manner. And beyond that, we have the National Incident Management System, NIMS, that is the federal system. And so California was on the forefront on emergency preparedness and disaster. Katrina was a pure example on how the East Coast was not prepared and did not know how to respond. FEMA was not prepared and didn't know how to respond. California in 1986 standardized this emergency management because up north there was a fire at I think a senator's house. And they had firefighters from Northern California with their equipment and firefighters from Southern California with their equipment responding to a wildland fire, and it was affecting the governor's or the senator's house. Well, when California firefighters from Southern California got up north, their equipment didn't fit the fire hydrants there. And likewise, if someone from Northern California came down, there wasn't that standardized couplings and everything. And so what happened with that is now it's standardized so that everybody has the same equipment. So if we send a task force from Southern California to Northern California, their equipment will be compatible with all the stuff up there. And so nationwide, we have that as well. And so as a city, we are constantly doing it. All our employees and volunteers are required to go through a certain training with SIMS, NIMS, ICS. And one of the things that the fire department practices, the sheriff's department, and the city and our public safety division is the incident command system. And so the incident command system is basically chain of command. It's from the military. You have a person at top, and in order for you to speak to that person at top, it kind of goes down, and you don't just go from the bottom to the person at top. You follow that chain of command. And so that's what we do as a city. So there's not necessarily a state representative, but we, and especially myself as the city's emergency services coordinator, are trained to be able to respond, and we do continuous training at the state level. So hope that answered your question.
Well, that's what we were working on 15 years ago when we retired. Because I was in charge of the issues with the state.
And one of the things that we try to get everybody more involved is the community involved in the CERT program. I work closely with Stacy Gerlach from LA City Fire, so Captain Gerlach is involved in the program, and also with LA County. And so we do all communicate, and so we do work together. With the CERT program, one of the things what Freddie talked about, the fire extinguisher. Who here has not used a fire extinguisher before? And when do you think the best time to learn to use a fire extinguisher is? Before you need it. You don't want to have that kitchen fire going on and reading the instructions. Okay, pull pin. Right, what's next? As that fire is starting to get bigger and bigger. You want to understand and know how to use it before you need to use it. The time of disaster is not the time that you want to learn to use it. With the CERT program, as Freddie showed you, we had some graduating members from our CERT classes. The CERT training can be done in two ways. One is you get the training, which is great. It teaches the residents, the individuals, how to care for themselves, how to care for their families. If that's all you're doing it for is for your own personal use, for you and your family, great. That's one less family, one less household that the city has to worry about and follow up on. But if you want to go beyond that, we do have a program that we are in the early stages of and implementing is the CERT call-out team. And so one of the requirements of the CERT call-out team is that you have to graduate from a basic CERT class. The basic CERT class, as Freddie covered some of the material, is a 20-hour class. It is a FEMA recognized class. So you get trained here and you move to Florida and you're trained in CERT in Temple City, your CERT training is recognized in Florida. Also, it is free. Some cities charge residents because we partner up with LA County Fire. They do provide the training free. We do have city staff that are instructors as well, so the city may be doing it with more city staff involved and not relying so much on the fire department. And with that, we can offer more classes. Before it was solely dependent on the fire department, we were subject to their schedule. And so with the CERT call-out team, anybody that is interested and has attended a basic CERT class, you would fill out an application, submit your CERT certificate as proof of completing the class, pass a background check and a medical screening, and any volunteer that is part of the CERT program will be sworn in as a disaster service worker for the city of Temple City. And as city employees, we are mandated to respond to work in the event of a disaster. Whether we like it or not. It's part of our job as public servants. So we need to make sure our family's okay, but as soon as we know they're okay, we have to get to work. If I can't get to work, I need to respond to either the city I live in or somewhere nearby and let them know, I can't get to work, I work for the city of Temple City, I'm training this, how can I help you? And so there is that structure that we were talking about. If anyone's interested in joining the call-out team and has attended the basic training, let me know. My information is on the front of the handout that you have today. It is something that we are growing. We'll have quarterly training, training individuals on things beyond what the basic CERT training. It could be shelter management with the American Red Cross, CPR first aid training, traffic control and redirection. So it's on and on that we can go. As Freddie said, we do partner with the city of Rosemead because Temple City is small, Rosemead is equally as small, and our resources are similar. And so we share borders. I work closely with the city of Rosemead already on other projects. And so the CERT team that we have here will be a joint effort with the city of Rosemead City. And one of the other things that I want to stress with CERT, as far as if you feel that, you know what, I'm too old to do it, or I can't do this, I can't do that, I may have a disability or anything. There is a role for CERT for everybody. And I'm going to point out to someone especially here. We have Mary here that was one of our classes that graduated 2 weeks prior to our windstorm. And so we didn't have a structured team, but Mary's been involved with the city, coming to our council meetings, so she's known by staff. And so what happened is with the windstorm, we didn't have power, we couldn't call out, people weren't getting emails because they had no power. So we had news releases, we had water available at City Hall. Mary was in a position there that she was answering questions as people came up, handed them a flashlight, gave them a press release, gave them a bottle of water, gave someone to talk to that, again, we have limited staff, and with the disaster that we were having, our staff was busy running the EOC or operations out there, and so there is a position for everybody, whether you're physically capable or any other disabilities that you may have, or you may be able-bodied, and there's a role for everybody. So don't feel discouraged or that you can't get involved because you think that physically you can't do it or anything. Like I said, we've had people that are in wheelchairs, walkers, that do have a role. And it may not be the physical part, but we do have administrative roles as well that you can help out in. As I said before, in emergency management, we don't say if, but when an earthquake happens, and you want to prepare yourself for that. In our previous Connect magazine, we had a center infographic that talks about disaster preparedness and primarily earthquake. That's what's going to happen here in Temple City. We're not going to be affected by wildland fires. We're not going to have tsunamis hit us, but we will be affected indirectly by some of those, and we want to prepare for those. But what we do know for sure is that earthquakes happen in Southern California, and we want to do our best to prepare for those. I have this information on the slide, and there are some handouts over here if you have not seen that. And this is just a fun way that the city gets information out to you and lets you know what you can do as yourself and your family to prepare for that. Another way that you can help the city and LA County is the SNAP registry. Residents of the community, the faith-based organizations, you know who in your community has those special needs. Who's the widow that just recently lost her husband and doesn't have any family there to help her? Who's the person that is on a dialysis and maybe is bedridden on there? We don't know that, but we have an obligation and we must do what we can to help the entire population of the city. And so if you have someone that is within the community that has those needs that cannot get out on their own, and we don't know about it, this is a way for the city to find out and obtain that information. It's a LA County registry, and so the city has access to that and lets us know what households in Temple City have those needs. And so if we need to employ a CERT team to go door knocking and make sure that that person in that household is okay or see what assistance they need, we know where to send them. Resources for emergency preparedness, there's plenty of them out there. Google emergency preparedness on the website, earthquakes, everything will pop up. These are some of the ones that I, as a city emergency services coordinator, go through, and this is kind of what a lot of us go through for some of those resources. We don't know everything, and we don't claim to know everything. We partner with several organizations, and why reinvent the wheel when the information's already out there? And so, ready.gov, redcross.org, CalEMA is the California Emergency Management Agency, FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, shakeout.org, and in October it's going to be the Great California Shakeout, and so if you guys are interested in that, go to their website, just type in Great California Shakeout 2013, you'll get information on that, and then earthquake country info. And so with that, that concludes our presentation. We will be available if anybody has any questions, but like I said, I appreciate everybody coming out and being here tonight with us.
Thanks, Brian.